So welcome to TrainingU Preview Night 2021. Now I'll say 2021 because this is something that we're going to continue to do throughout the next, we have a 2-year rotation. So then when it goes well, we're going to keep going. And so this is what we want Wednesday nights to turn into. We want it to be theological training for the local church. Here is the biggest thing about TrainingU. This is for anyone, all right? So if you know an infant Christian, it's like a baby Christian, if you know somebody who is literally the smartest Christian you know, this is for everybody, all right? This is for everyone, and who is everyone? So if somebody tonight said, man, I don't know if I want to go be involved in that. I don't know, that sounds really deep for me. Tell them to just get in here, dive in. This is for them, all right? So let's get started. So what is TrainingU? Okay, so at Plymouth Park, we believe discipleship can and should primarily happen in the local church. So we see that happening right now on Sunday mornings and Sunday morning small group. But here's the thing. How deep can you typically go in a Sunday morning small group? Sunday school? You can't go very deep, right? Like there's only so much that you can cover within the hour. You're pressed for time. You have all these different services that you're trying to get to. You have worship. You have people in the choir that have to get out. You have all these different things that are going on Sunday mornings. And on top of that, you have prayer requests. You have all these things. All of those things should be happening, and that's wonderful. TrainingU is an environment that we are focusing in on purposefully going deeper. We're purposefully diving deeper, and this environment is for that. Does that make sense? So this environment is not going to be as fellowship focused. It's going to be much more information, communication focus in that light. So it's theological training for a local church. I brought that up. We're going to be splitting it into 2 semesters. Somebody asked, are you going to be offering summer courses? I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But no mini-masters. And if there is a mini-master, Carolyn Owens is going to teach it, all right? And so... But that is how we're going to be splitting this up. And then there are 8 core classes and 8 elective courses that we offer at TrainingU at Plymouth Park. And as we grow and as we keep going, you're going to see more and more courses offered. All right. And so right now we're only offering 3 in English and 1 in Spanish in this semester. And then so hopefully as we grow and as we develop more teachers, as more people come, we're going to see more and more people grow and more courses offered. Does that make sense? All right, great. Let's keep going. So TrainingU is meant to be deeper discipleship. If you have your Bibles, open up to Hebrews chapter 5. It's where you can go to Hebrews chapter 5. It is focused in on deeper discipleship. Now, why do you need deeper discipleship? Now, if you've heard me probably harp on this, if you came to one of the intro meetings when I came, I did a huge spill on this. I think. What did somebody call him? Mr. Rambo earlier. I think Mr. Rambo was in there. And so, as we talk about this, what you need to realize is your Sunday school material most of the time starts at the 8th grade level. So when you read it, it is 8th grade level. Now, is there anything wrong with that? No, they're trying to make it accessible for everyone. But here's the thing: how many of you are educated above 8th grade in this room? All right. Most of us, all right? Now, you don't have to raise your hand if you're not. That's fine. But if you are educated above the 8th grade level, that means that you are actually studying material that is lower than your actual reading level. Now, that's fine, all right? There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not dunking on Sunday school. I literally had an hour meeting with our Sunday school leaders just a few weeks ago. I love Sunday school, but we need to have environments that invite people to go deeper if they want to go deeper. We need to have those environments that they can dive into the Word. And this is why. Hebrews 5, verses 11 through 14. This is what the English Standard Version says. About this we have much to say, and it is hard to explain, since you have become dull of hearing. For though by this time you ought to be teachers, you need someone to teach you again the basic principles of the oracles of God. You need milk, not solid food. For everyone who lives on milk is unskilled in the word of righteousness, since he is a child. But solid food is for the mature, for those who have their powers of discernment trained by the constant practice to distinguish good from evil. So, me and my wife, when we were dating, we went to this really nice restaurant, super nice restaurant, and my dad was paying. Okay? And we go to this restaurant, and we sit down to order, and I look at the menu, and my wife's looking at the menu, and my wife orders. And I said, I'll take the chicken strips. What do y'all think my dad said to me? We are at a steakhouse right now that costs $50 a steak, and you're ordering chicken strips? Get that boy a steak right now. Give him a steak. Like, cook it like this, all right? And I ate the steak very gladly, all right? In all honesty, I was trying to save money, and I'm a really picky eater, and nobody heard that. But anyway, in the same way, how many times have God convicted you in your heart to go deeper in your faith? And He may lay a steak right there in front of you. And you go, no, God, I'll take the chicken nuggets. Has that ever been you? Yeah. Because the chicken nuggets are easy to digest. They're easier to take in. They're easier to dive into. They're easier to, break apart and dive and to not dive deeper. It's easy. Now, these believers in Hebrews, we don't know who the author of Hebrews is. I made fun of Jerry all week last week at Unitatis because he said that Paul wrote Hebrews, and we're like, we don't know that. And so anyway, we don't know who exactly he's writing to, but in this book, he is talking to people who literally says, you ought to be teachers of the Word by now. You ought to be teachers of the Word by now, but instead, somebody's going to have to teach you again the basic principles of the oracles of God. You need milk, not solid food. And why? This is why. Listen to what he says. For everyone who lives on milk is unskilled in the word of righteousness. That means that they don't understand the gospel. They don't understand the Word in the deepest way that they can. So this is what deep discipleship is. This is what TrainingU is for. We are helping you by giving you meat. We're helping you by throwing a steak in front of you. And you may say, I've never had a steak like this. Well, that's what this course is for. We're going to walk through it through the next 14 weeks. We're going to have 14-week semesters this fall. We're going to walk through it the next 14 weeks, breaking down each week, diving into the Word, learning things that are going to help you grow deeper in your faith. And at the end, I pray that you go, you know what? I can teach this. And you come to me and say, hey, Tyler, now that doesn't mean that everybody in here needs to come to me and teach because we're not going to have enough courses. But what I'm saying is that you may come to me and say, hey, like, Tyler, can I teach one of these courses like in the future? And we say, yeah, and we plan it out and we make it happen. Because some of you ought to be teachers. Some of you need to be teachers. Some of you need to be equipped to do these things. And that is what TrainingU is focusing on, pushing you to dive deeper so that you can push others to dive deeper. I made the joke a few weeks ago on Sunday morning that sometimes it seems like Sunday school is like Baptist purgatory. And what do you mean by that? It means that when you get into a Sunday school class, you stay there until you die, right? Some of y'all know Sunday school classes are like that, correct? What if the Lord is calling you right now to start a new Sunday school class out of your class, and TrainingU is going to be there to equip you to do that? What if God is calling you right now to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to start a Bible study on Thursday mornings at IHOP, and we're going to be diving into the Word. Hey, you know what? I'm going to take this Bible study I'm already attending, and I'm going to push us to go deeper and invite more people to it. What if TrainingU is the avenue that the Lord is going to use to convict you to do that? All of us ought to be teachers of the Word. All of us ought to be this. This is just not a pastor thing. This is for every believer. So let us strive to eat good meat, brothers and sisters. So that this is... You're going to hear Jared say this in just a minute. This is a sentence you're going to hear me utter all throughout this. The goal of theological information is to lead to spiritual transformation. The goal of theological information is to lead to spiritual transformation. The problem most of the time with theological information is we gather it, and then we become spiritually obese Christians. What can God get for me? What can the church give to me? And how many times have you ever met somebody that left the church and they said, I left this church because I wasn't being fed? You ever heard that? I left the church when I was 18 years old because I wasn't being fed. That was my excuse. Here's the thing, brothers and sisters. I would ask anybody who says that, well, what are you eating? What are you eating? Are you eating healthy? Are you exercising your faith? Are you gaining theological information so that can lead to spiritual transformation down from your head to your heart through your hands so that you can reach out and make new disciples? Or are you just gathering theological information for the purpose of just gathering information? You know what the Word says about knowledge? It puffs up. It puffs up. Theological information is not there to lead us just to hey, this is what I know and I can flex on you because I know all of this about the end times. Or I know all of this about soteriology. Or I know this about hermeneutics. Or I know this about this topic. No, it's actually meant to humble us because we're at the feet of our God learning more about Him. And the more we learn about Him, the more we learn about His grace. And the more we learn about His grace, it should humble us. It should humble us. I call some of those people who start getting some of that theological information, I call them cage stagers, all right? And the reason I call them a cage stage is because they would probably be better off in a cage for like the next few years reading the Word instead of going out and attacking people. I'll give you an example. I was at DBU the other night. I'm inviting college students to our church. And there was this one college student who came up, and Israel's talking to him about our church. He's like, yeah, we teach sound doctrine. And this 18-year-old student goes, what do you mean by sound doctrine? And I'm over here talking to this girl, and I go, oh no, I know where this is going. So I turn my attention immediately over here. I just turn my attention. And Israel goes, well, like we teach expository preaching. And the guy goes, where do you stand on soteriology and the 5 da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da? And I'm like, oh no. And Israel's already had a long day. Israel's already packed all this stuff up. And Israel looks over at me like, help me. All right. And so I looked at Israel and I said, I got this one, bro. And I grabbed him, put my arm around him and said, hey man, come over here. And I talked to this guy through this. How many of you have ever met somebody theologically like that? That they are a know-it-all? And they just want to just flex all those things on you, like, look at what I know. That's not the purpose of this. The purpose of TrainingU is not to give you all this knowledge for the purpose of just knowledge. It's to help you transform and be more like Jesus. So in one of the courses this fall, you're going to be learning about the deeper doctrines of God. You're not going to talk about God just as Trinity, because God is not just Trinity. That is literally who He is. God is 3 in 1. It's not this abstract doctrine. That is who He presents Himself as. You're going to dive into the doctrines of Christ. How Jesus died for us, and dive into the depths of that. If you're in how to study the Bible, you're going to learn how to break down the Word in a way that is probably that some of you may have never done before. If you've done it before, then just pretend when I'm teaching you. Some of you are going to learn how to defend the faith. Some of you are going to be facing ethical questions that you may have never even faced before. And as you dive into these things, hopefully it pushes you to be more like Jesus. So what classes will we cover? Well, I'm glad that you asked. If you go online at TrainingU, at Plymouth Park /TrainingU, you can find this. It's literally an information sheet that has all the courses that we're going to offer. I'm going to do a quick fly overview. My wife would look at me right now and go, oh no, he's about to read super fast. Yes, I am. All right, so buckle up. We are going to do it. All right. So I'm not going to cover the courses we're covering this fall. I'm going to just kind of jump around. First, one of the courses we're going to offer is Old Testament Overview. We're going to do like a 30,000-foot overview of the first 39 books of the Bible. So we're not going to be diving deep into Isaiah. We're going to literally just like skim the top of Isaiah and keep going. Does that make sense? So Old Testament Overview, New Testament Overview, the last 27 books of the Bible, 30,000-foot overview, looking at it, skim the top and keep going. Then we're going to do Baptist Foundations. Why are you a Baptist? How many of y'all can answer that question? Why are you a Baptist? Well, some of you go, well, because of the Bible. Yes, but why? Why the Bible? What is it in the Bible that leads you to be Baptist? I think Jared's already called teaching this class because he's a Baptist history nut, and I am too. We almost fought over it, but it's okay. I'll let him have it because I'm a good friend and a good pastor, and he pulls seniority on me. But anyway, I'm just kidding. I can pick on him because he's not here. But anyway. So as we dive into, and we're going to learn our history and our foundations in the Scriptures and realize why the first church in Jerusalem was actually First Baptist Jerusalem. That's what we're going to learn about Baptist Foundations. Then we're going to talk about personal evangelism and discipleship, how you can share your faith and make disciples. Then we're going to talk about the Christian life. I love this quote from Dallas Willard. We can increasingly resemble Christ in character and in power by following Him in His overall style of life. This was the method of His earliest disciples, and it is valid as it is today as it was then. I'm teaching that course, and I think I'm not teaching that until 2023, and I'm really sad about it because I want to teach it tomorrow, and so I'm really excited about that course. Continuing on, the electives that we have, church history. This is my favorite one, all right? I love church history. Why study church history? Because a lot happened between Paul and Billy Graham you need to know about. So, the truth of the matter is that a lot happened that some of you may have never even heard between Paul and Billy Graham. If I said, hey, name a famous pastor, some of you are going to go Billy Graham. All right, that's good. There's a lot of things that happened way before him in early church history that we're going to talk about. Missions, we're going to talk about the history of missions, how missions movements happen, the methods that have happened. We're going to dive into how we can learn from our past on how to reach the world. Biblical manhood and womanhood, talking about how we, in a world of confused gender ideology, can actually live out the biblical sex ethic so that we can reflect Christ in that. Christian leadership in a secular world, how to lead at your workplace as a Christ follower. That's going to be super beneficial for a lot of you. This compelling community, it's going to be diving deeper into how the church can actually be this compelling community that compels people that look at it and go, I want to be a part of that. And then at last, overviews of the books of the Bible. And Teresa, if you can take Micah, these courses will be 16-week dives into specific books of the Bible. All right, so like we're going to offer in the future, so all of it's already lined out, but maybe like fall of 23, we may offer a deep dive into Isaiah. We may offer a 16-week deep dive into Romans, where we focus in on that. Now, will we be able to cover all the beauty of like of a book of the Bible in 16 weeks? Probably not, but we can go a lot deeper than an overview would. Does that make sense? All right, I hope this doesn't intimidate you. All right, so as we continue on, we're going to dive deeper into what's going to be going on this fall. So listen to Pastor Jared in this video.
Hey church family, Pastor Jared here. I so wish that I could be with you tonight for TrainingU preview, but Pastor Israel and I are in Atlanta at the North American Mission Board, a phenomenal organization that Southern Baptist Youth Plant Churches. We're here learning and growing. Can't wait to come back and put into practice a lot of what we have learned and see how the money that we give to the cooperative program is supporting church planting across North America. I'm so excited about TrainingU starting this fall. If you're here tonight, you're on the fence, let me tell you, sign up for one of these classes. You're going to learn and grow in ways that you could not even imagine this fall. I'm teaching Christian theology, and you may ask, what is that? Oh, Christian theology, we're going to look at the doctrine of Scripture, the doctrine of man, we're going to look at the doctrine of Christ, the doctrine of God, the doctrine of the Spirit. We're going to learn and grow. But the purpose is not for us to gain more theological information. The purpose of the class is for us to have spiritual transformation for to take place. So I'm going to encourage you to sign up on Wednesday or Thursday. We're going to learn a lot, but it's going to be a class too that I think at the end you're going to say, I grew in my faith. I grew in my love for Jesus. I grew in my knowledge of God, which leads me to worship before God. And it leads me to worship before God rightly. And so I want to encourage you to sign up for one of these classes. I'd be honored to have you in my class, but whether you take mine or the class with Pastor Tyler or the classes with Pastor Mike, I think that's going to be beneficial for you. And we want people to understand that really as a church, more than what we do on Sunday morning for an hour or 2 hours. Really what we do during the week in our home lives, what we do on Wednesdays here, these things are important. So I encourage you to sign up, get involved in this, call somebody this week that maybe hasn't signed up yet and say, hey, take this class with me. Invite somebody who's not even a church member. Maybe somebody would say, I'm a little bit skittish of going to a worship service, but I'll go in a smaller group to a theology class or a class on how to study the Bible. Consider those things, pray about it, and I look forward to seeing you at TrainingU this fall.
All right, Pastor Mike is going to come up and share about his course, and then we'll continue on.
All right, so I was told also to give kind of like a preview of what I'm going to be doing for my class. And so if you were here on Wednesday night a few weeks ago, I talked a little bit about apologetics and what we're going to be doing with apologetics. So apologetics would be defending the faith. So what is apologetics? It does not mean to apologize, but rather apologetics really just means giving a reasonable defense for what we believe. It's something that I think is incredibly important for us, right? Why do we believe what we believe? Why is it important? Is it reasonable to believe that God has created the universe? Is it reasonable to believe that Jesus Christ was God and man? All these things are incredibly important for us as believers, and so we're going to kind of dive into those kinds of topics. I brought just a few books with me up here. You have to read all of these in my class. There will be a book exam every week. I did bring a few of these with me to kind of give you an example of what we're going to be talking about. So primarily be using this book. It's called Reasonable Faith by William Lane Craig. You don't have to buy it, but if you come to my class, you can definitely get this and kind of see what we talk about. Craig uses something that's called classical apologetics, which essentially means you start from nothing. You start from, if nothing exists, how do we prove that anything exists, right? And so I really like with Craig, his approach to classical apologetics and the way that he does that. So that's primarily what we're going to be using. Another good book just to pick up would be a book called The Reason for God by Tim Keller. He's a pastor of a church in New York. So anyway, those two books are really good for the first half of the semester. And then the second half of the semester is going to be ethical issues in the Christian life. So what do we believe about specific ethical issues in our culture? And so this little series right here, the Gospel for Life series, it's something that's put up by the ERLC, is a really good series on just basic topics like religious liberty. What do we believe about religious liberty? What do we believe about things like homosexual relationships? What do we believe about divorce? I've got kind of a list of things here. What do we believe about even the biblical basis for ethical decisions, which I think is something that's lacking a lot of times. So when you think about the ethics of Christianity, we talk about them often. We believe, for example, we believe that abortion is wrong. Why? Does the Bible directly address abortion? Oh, it does not, right? It doesn't come out and say in the Bible, thou shalt not commit abortion, right? That's not a Bible verse. So where do we ethically think about these issues? And so we're going to talk about those kinds of things. How do we think rightly about what the Bible has to say about ethics? We'll cover other topics like even more cultural topics like drugs or gambling or birth control or even just war theory, those kinds of things. But I promise that sounds like an intimidating list. It's really not. I promise it's going to be more discussion-based when it comes to ethics about why do we believe these things, what do you think, and kind of a give and take. And so I'm really excited about the opportunity to talk first and foremost about apologetics in the first half. In the second half, we get to talk about ethics. So questions about any of those things, about apologetics or ethics or what that means or what we're going to be talking about?
You did a great job.
All right. So I'll pass this back over to Pastor Conley.
So fun fact, I actually took ethics in seminary in 4 weeks. I took it in a mini-mester. And I almost lost my marriage, I think. I'm not even kidding. It was horrible. It was so much. You talk about drinking from a fire hydrant, it was like drinking from Niagara Falls. It was so much. In the last question of the class, I had to write an essay, all right, on what I would do if there was a same-sex couple that started coming to my church that had adopted a little girl that had gotten saved, gotten convicted of their sin, and then were divorced, but they stayed together for their daughter. How would you ethically address that?
If you want the answer, come to my class.
Yeah, come to Micah's class, because that's how you're going to get the answer. All right? That's how you're going to get the answer. All right? So, but real talk. How would we address that? That's what that class is going to help you do. Now, my course is How to Study the Bible. I kind of put a really short course description up there, and I'm not going to dive too deep because I don't want to break into what I'm going to be teaching about next week. But I am going to be telling you guys, the way we typically study the Bible is wrong. The way we typically study the Bible is wrong because what's the first question that a lot of us answer? Well, what does this passage mean to me? That's what we try to answer, right? We go to the Bible and say, what does this passage mean to me? And that's why sometimes if you go, well, this person over here, this is what this verse means to this person, this is what this verse means to this person. Brothers and sisters, there's only one correct interpretation of the text. Only one. Now, there's different applications to those interpretations. So that's what people are actually saying. They're not saying, well, this is what this verse means to me. They're actually saying, well, this is how this verse applies to my life. So we're going to talk about an interpretive journey. We're going to be using specifically 3 different books. The first one, the Bible. All right, if you don't have one of those, come find me, please. All right, we'll get you one. And particularly a good study Bible. So if you're taking my course, please have a good study Bible. If you don't have one, I can recommend next week when we get started. And then we're going to be using a book called Grasping God's Word. The 3rd edition of that book, there's a 4th edition that came out, and I was just really cheap and I didn't want to buy it. So the 3rd edition of that book And then a blank notebook. There's your 3 textbook needs for that. So we're going to be diving into that. My wife is taking my course, and she signed up for it, and she looked at it, and she said, I feel like I'm going back to school. And I said, good. All right, good. All right, we're going to be going deep about how to study the Bible next week in my class. So, will you join us in on this journey toward deeper discipleship? So some of you haven't registered for a class. I want you to say, yes, I'm committing tonight for the next 14 weeks. I'm going to be there. All right, I'm asking you to commit for 14 weeks. That's it. 14 weeks. Every Wednesday night. That's it, right? Now, that's a deep commitment. But that's what it takes to have deep discipleship. It takes deep commitment from deep believers to want to go deeper. Is there somebody you need to invite that you need to reach out to and say, well, can I be a part of this? Yes, they can be a part of this. All right, so let's keep going. Instructions now. So if you haven't signed up for a course, or if you're confused if you signed up for a course, you may have already signed up online. If you have, please don't sign up again, please. I have to go through and clean out my list. I was telling the people earlier, if you just walked in, I thought I was getting close to my hallelujah goal of 50 people signed up, because that's what I wanted 50 people signed up for this. And I looked, and I'm actually closer to like 40, 43, because a ton of people signed up twice, and 3 times even one lady. So please sign up once. If you're confused though, I'm not going to like bash you over the head and come to your house and go, why did you sign up again? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to delete your name out once. There are sign up sheets up here on this table with Mr. Schultz. Just please come up here and grab one, fill it out. Put it down. I do want to make some special notes though, all right? Classes are capped at 15 people. Now, we'll be flexible about how many people can actually be in the class, but we're trying to consider COVID and all these other things. My class on Wednesday is already at 13 people. So let me check something really quick. Actually, my class is at 15 people. My class is full on Wednesdays. So there's a lot of people that have already pre-registered, which is great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an executive decision really quick. I'm going to take 3 more people, all right? And how we're going to decide that is we're going to go up to the youth room after they're done, and there's going to be a game of pool. Whoever wins the game of pool can be in my class. I'm kidding. So anyway, just sign up as whoever's first to get in there and get signed up, all right? So I'm going to go up to 18 people for my course, and then we can move people around and all those things. Micah's class will not be offered on Thursdays, and he has a great reason, because look around the church and look at the work this brother's doing. This dude is killing it, all right? Like, I mean, I literally, if you haven't looked at the chapel today, please walk by the chapel and then high-five Micah head and say, brother, you're doing great. All right, this guy is literally spinning about 30 plates in different directions. And I don't know if y'all know, he actually started back to school. And so to go get his MBA to benefit us in that way. And so he's a student at DBU. I meant to post his first day of school picture the other day when everybody wants to say, but that does exist. All right, that does exist. But real talk, please go tell him thank you. But we're going to give him Thursdays off. So if you sign up for Defending the Faith on Thursday, there's people that are going to be watching this. You're either going to be moved to my class or Jared's class, whichever the second class you chose is. Does that make sense? All right. Other than that, if you have a friend that's serving somewhere else tonight, I thought about somebody and I went to them and I said, hey, I want you in my class on Thursday. And they said, Tyler, I can't be in there on Thursdays. I'm so sorry. There may be somebody, though, that can come on Thursday mornings from 9 to 10. Please get them to sign up. And I may, if our classes start getting too full, I may actually call some of you that I know are retired that may have a Thursday morning and say, hey, can I move you over because we have too many people signed up? How awesome would that be? Our first semester, we're already full up. All right. So, does anybody have any questions about anything that's going on?
What do you think the time commitment is outside of attending the courses?
I'm going to say however much you want it to be. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not going to sit there and, like, that's what my wife asked me last night. I showed her, like, my syllabus. All right. It's not a syllabus by any stretch of the imagination. It is literally the most basic, like, here's how I'm teaching, here's the dates of the class and all these things. She said, am I going to have homework? And I said, well, yeah, you're going to have homework, but it's not going to be like a seminary level homework. Like, I'm not going to sit there and go, you have to write this essay, you have to take this quiz and all this. For my course, for example, you're going to have a passage for like, I think 7 weeks of the course. There's going to be one passage, and then your job is to properly interpret it and come back with your interpretation for the next week. It's that simple. So you have a week to do that. And I mean, you can do that in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or when we get to like the Old Testament law, it may take a little bit longer than that. But I'm not going to tell you like an exact time because I want you to get what you want out of it. Does that make sense? Like, if you want to commit all your time to it and read the textbook along with me and all this while we're teaching, man, by God's grace, go for it. All right? If you want to buy the books that Micah has and dive into his books like he's going to, go for it. But if that's not for you, if you have other time commitments, come and learn. That's all I'm asking. Just come and learn, come and go deeper. Does that answer your question? Good. Any other questions?
When will we know which class?
Hopefully after tonight. And so my job tonight is when I get home, I'm going to spend some time with my wife, and then when she goes to bed, I'm going to stay up for a little while and try to divide everybody out. And I'm going to send an email out to everybody. So be checking your email. And so what I'll do is I'll send it in groups. Hey, this is what class you go to. And then next week, you'll just report directly to the classroom that is assigned to you. Does that make sense? So we're going to be meeting in the Ed building, rooms 107, 105, and 103. And I think the Spanish class is meeting in 104. And so we're going to be meeting in those classes. So just go to the Ed building, go down there, and we'll be standing out there waiting on you when you get there. I do want to give you guys a little bit of a heads up. There is a surprise guest coming in the second week of Jared's class. We have a guest lecturer coming in from Criswell College. And so for Christian theology. So pretty cool that we have already made a connection with a college. And so I was like, let's go. So I'm going to try to one-up him and get somebody from Southwestern next semester. So I'll do one another in honor. That's what the Bible says. So any other questions? All right.
I've got a comment, Jared.
Yes, ma'am.
Jared, I'm sorry, Troy.
Hey, I'll answer
Oh,
anything.
the wrong name. I have been reading through the Bible for a number of years.
Yes.
I'm starting on the second, right now I'm on my second time for reading through the Bible. Every time I read it, I will see something different in a verse I've read, or I'll understand it a little bit different, and it has really helped me doing that.
Amen. Amen. Charles Spurgeon said that the Bible is a well, that it goes ever deeper. And so I pray that that is what we find out this semester, is that whatever course you take, it's going to be based in the Word. All right, we're going to be using apologetics based out of the Word, and all of these things are going to be diving deeper. We're going to be doing Christian theology that's based on the Word, and you can't really do how to study the Bible without the Word. So, has anybody got any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, well then your job now is to come up here and get a registration sheet. Please sign up for those. Sign up for your course. Turn it in right up here. There's a chair right here. There's a stack of these, so come get one. Come get signed up. Other than that, we can hang out for a little bit. So just answer any questions that you may have, or you can sign up online too if you want to do that. All right, go to plymouthpark.org/TrainingU. All right, and then there's a form there to fill out. All right. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
As far as like the type of Bible, or what,
Are you taking How to Study the Bible?
Yes.
We'll talk about that next week.
So just come prepared.
Yeah, just bring. I'm now. The only Bibles I'm going to tell you not to use for my course specifically is the Message and the Living Bible. All right, because those are paraphrases, and so those two Bibles are not good Bibles for study. They're great for insight, not for study. And so,
Bible like this?
that's perfect. It looks good. It's leather, so it's pretty. And so I'd say that looks good. I'd have to look at the translation and double check, but it looks pretty from here. I do want to say this really quick. I want to utilize the library this fall and for this course, all right? So Nancy's super excited about that. So if you're in my course specifically, there's commentaries that are going to be in there. We're going to talk about the use of commentaries and all those things, how those things benefit you. You may want to go check out the library on some of those nights, check out a book that helps you dive deeper into the Word. But this is the thing about the library I want to ask you to do. I want this to be a continuing legacy at Plymouth Park. All right? I don't want to start TrainingU and then just watch it take off and then die. I want it to survive. Okay? In order for it to survive, we need to have people that are bought in. Okay? Some of you are going to be overachievers, and I love overachievers because I'm an overachiever, and you're going to go buy the textbook. Now, if you want to keep that textbook, that is great and wonderful. But some of you are going to use it for this semester, and you're never going to use it again. It's just going to sit on the shelf. Consider donating that textbook to the library. consider donating textbook, buying it, and then saying, hey, I'm going to donate this in honor of who, or I'm going to donate this in honor of TrainingU, I'm going to donate this in honor of Plymouth Park, so that we can keep our library up to date in realms of what we're doing on Wednesday nights, and so that people in future semesters can use it and all those things. Does that make sense? Cool. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, great. Nobody's scared. Nobody fell off the floor from a heart attack yet. Yes.
I have a concern, I don't know, but do I need to put off starting this because I'm committed for a couple of Wednesday nights, trips and things?
I think it's fine.
Okay.
Yes, I think it's fine. And I think, didn't you sign for Defending the Faith, Barry?
So, yes.
Yeah, so when you get your course, just go to the guy who's teaching, go to the pastor who's teaching and say, hey, I'm going to miss these weeks. I'm not going to care, right? So like, for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a copy of my notes. Like I already know that somebody already told me, hey, I'm going to be missing a Thursday. I'm just going to have a copy of my notes for them just to give to them and say, hey, if you want to do this one-on-one even, call me. We can schedule a one-on-one meeting. We're pastors, we're not professors. And so I want us to, walk through the Word and be there for you. So if you're missing a Wednesday, if you're sitting there looking at this going, oh my gosh, I'm going to miss 3 Wednesdays. I can't sign up for this. Yes, you can. Don't be like that, all right? Come on. You got this. That's a good question, Barry. Anybody else? All right. Well, get signed up. Turn your paper in up here. Other than that, you can consider yourself dismissed.